Right now, millions of Americans wake up every morning, grab their coffee, get in their car, and head to work believing they're doing everything they're supposed to do to build a stable life. They're working full-time jobs, putting in 40 hours a week, sometimes 50, sometimes even more. And on paper it looks like things should be fine because some of them are making $60,000 a year, some 70, some even pushing past 6 figures. And when people hear those numbers, they usually assume life must be pretty comfortable. But here's the surprising part that almost nobody talks about openly. If an emergency happened tomorrow, something simple like a medical bill, a car repair, or losing a job for a couple of months, a huge number of Americans wouldn't even have $10,000 saved. Not $20,000, not even $15,000, just $10,000. And when you stop and think about that for a second, it sounds almost impossible because the United States is one of the richest countries in the world, and everywhere you look you see signs of wealth, expensive cars on the highway, luxury apartments going up in big cities, people posting vacations and nice dinners on social media, and the whole culture creates this image that most people are doing pretty well financially. But behind that image, there's a very different reality where millions of people are quietly living paycheck to paycheck trying to stay one step ahead of their bills. So that brings up a really interesting question that a lot of people have started asking recently, and the question is simple but powerful. Why does saving $10,000 feel so hard for so many Americans today? Is it just bad money habits? Or is there something bigger happening inside the modern economy that makes building savings a lot more difficult than it used to be? To understand the answer, you have to look at what everyday life actually costs right now. Imagine someone earning around $70,000 a year, which sounds like a solid middle-class income. But after taxes, that might turn into roughly $4,000 a month in take-home pay. And once real-life expenses start hitting that paycheck, the numbers change very quickly. Rent in many American cities has skyrocketed over the past decade, and even in smaller cities, a basic apartment can easily cost $1,500 or more every single month. Add utilities, internet, and basic living expenses, and suddenly housing alone can swallow almost half of someone's income before anything else even happens. Transportation is another major piece of the puzzle because most Americans rely heavily on cars to get around, and car payments that used to be $300 a month are now often double that, especially for newer vehicles. And when you add insurance, gas, and maintenance, the true monthly cost of owning a car can become surprisingly high. Then there's groceries, which have become noticeably more expensive in the last few years, healthcare premiums that continue to rise, student loan payments that many younger Americans still carry, phone bills, subscriptions, and all the everyday costs of simply living a normal life. By the time someone finishes paying those bills, the amount of money left over at the end of the month is often much smaller than people expect. It's not that people don't want to save money, because many do want that security of having an emergency fund sitting in the bank. The problem is that the modern cost of living quietly eats away at their paycheck before they ever get the chance to save anything meaningful. Another powerful factor that makes this situation even more complicated is lifestyle pressure. And this is something that didn't exist in the same way 20 or 30 years ago. Today, people are constantly exposed to images of how life is supposed to look through social media, advertising, and entertainment. Scroll through your phone for a few minutes and you'll see people showing off new cars, modern apartments, weekend trips, expensive restaurants, and experiences that look exciting and successful. Even if someone doesn't consciously try to compete with that lifestyle, it slowly changes what feels normal. A nicer car starts to feel like a reasonable upgrade, a bigger apartment starts to feel like a sign that you're progressing in life, and spending more money starts to feel justified because everyone else appears to be doing the same thing. What makes this even trickier is that the American financial system makes it incredibly easy to finance those upgrades. Credit cards allow people to buy things they don't have cash for. Car loans stretch payments across many years, so expensive vehicles appear affordable, and different financing options break purchases into smaller monthly installments that feel manageable in the moment. All of this encourages people to focus on monthly payments instead of total cost, and those monthly payments slowly stack up until a big portion of someone's income is already committed before they even think about saving. So when we come back to the original question about why most Americans struggle to save $10,000, the answer usually comes down to a combination of rising living costs, a culture built around borrowing and spending, and the natural human tendency to upgrade lifestyle as income grows. It's rarely just one single mistake or one bad decision. It's a system where housing, transportation, healthcare, and everyday expenses keep increasing while incomes don't always keep pace in the way people expect. That's why so many hardworking people say they feel like they're running on a treadmill financially, putting in effort every day but not necessarily moving forward the way they hoped. But there is an important part of this conversation that often gets overlooked, because while the system does make saving harder, it doesn't make it completely impossible. Many people who eventually build strong savings habits start by making small changes that don't look dramatic at first. Sometimes it means choosing a slightly cheaper car instead of the newest model. Sometimes it means holding off on lifestyle upgrades. And sometimes it simply means paying closer attention to where money goes every month. Those small decisions might not feel exciting, and they definitely won't get the same attention on social media as flashy purchases. But over time, they create breathing room in a budget. And that breathing room is what allows savings to slowly grow month by month. $10,000 rarely appears overnight for the average person. It's usually built gradually through consistent habits, patience, and a willingness to think long-term instead of focusing only on the present moment. When people understand how powerful their monthly financial commitments can become, they're more likely to make decisions that protect their future rather than quietly locking themselves into years of expenses that leave no space for saving. Now, I'm really curious to hear your perspective on this because everyone's situation is a little different. Do you think saving $10,000 in America today is realistic for the average person? Or do you feel like the rising cost of living has made that goal much harder than it used to be? Let me know what you think down in the comments, because these conversations are always interesting to hear from different viewpoints. And if you enjoy videos that break down the real financial realities of modern life in America, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video, because we're going to keep exploring topics like this and looking at the real stories behind money, lifestyle, and the modern economy.